So I have never seen a single Stanley Kubrick film, which is why I decided to watch through every single one of his movies because I want to. And so I'm going to be talking about them all in this video. No further introduction, let's just talk about some movies. Killing is Stanley Kubrick's first full-length film, and also, in my opinion, is his worst. I decided not to count Fear and Desire and Killer's Kiss because they weren't very long, and I also hadn't heard particularly good things about it. I only let this one in because it was at least like 80 minutes, and also looked interesting, like I actually wanted to watch it. Kind of looks like a 1950s Reservoir Dogs, and as you can tell from its place in the ranking, I very much did not enjoy it very much. I thought obviously the technical elements of it were pretty good. It is a Stanley Kubrick film after all, but to be honest, if I didn't know he made it, I wouldn't have been able to guess at all. It's just really uninteresting for the most part, and it does look kind of stylish, and there are brief moments where I was definitely enjoying myself. It isn't the worst thing I've ever seen. However, it is easily the worst film Stanley Kubrick has made in my opinion. I'm surprised it's as beloved as it actually is. I give it a 3 out of 10. After Spartacus, Stanley Kubrick finally went back to London, and his first movie was Lolita, after being in London. And it's definitely an interesting pick for this kind of film to be your first film in a while, where you have full creative control. But I mean, he was Stanley Kubrick after all. This is definitely a movie that I would not have watched otherwise if it weren't on this list, and it's really only one of 3. It's just one I really isn't for me, and I very much couldn't really get into it. It looks good, just like all of his other films. There are some really good performances. I wouldn't say I had a bad time watching it, but I also wouldn't say I really had that much of a good time.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
Spartacus is the only movie where Stanley Kubrick did it pure with a studio, basically. Like, it's not a Stanley Kubrick movie, more a movie made by whatever studio made Spartacus, I don't know. Another, like The Killing, it's one that I probably wouldn't be able to tell he made without knowing otherwise. 3-hour epics aren't really my thing, but there are obviously technical elements that I can appreciate. There are very good looking scenes. There is another movie that will come a bit later on the list. I will probably get into it a bit more with that. How this all works, but as this film is, it's a 3-hour movie, and it's a type of movie I don't really like. So obviously, it's not really for me. Yeah, it's probably like a 5 out of 10. Paths of Glory is the first movie on this list that I would genuinely say I liked. It's far from a bad film, and it is his highest rated film on Letterboxd, so I'm probably going to get a bit of flack for putting it 8. But it's almost entirely from my distaste towards these kind of war films. Old 1950s war movies, or even a lot of modern war films, they're just not for me. I kind of find them hard to follow, and I just find myself not really engaging in them as much. There are some excellently directed scenes in this though, and some great performances, which are what really saves it. And it's also only 90 minutes long, so unlike Spartacus, these films are both movies that usually aren't my thing. Unlike Spartacus, this film is only 90 minutes long, as opposed to 3 hours. If this movie was 3 hours, I would probably not like it very much. But it's short, and it's simple, and it's very well made, just like a lot of his other films. The ending is absolutely incredible, and there's that one long take on the trenches is phenomenal. I don't know what else to say. It's absolutely incredible that a guy in his late 20s made this film in the late 50s, and it's only his second film. 7 out of 10.
Been at Kamatage, Mr.
Doctor.
Mr. Doctor.
It's strange.
Maybe.
Doctor Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb, is a movie which I feel as if I would greatly benefit from a second viewing, as I feel I didn't quite get it this time. I found quite a lot of the jokes really, really funny, especially the performances from all three performances from Peter Sellers and the main performance of George S. Scott. All amazing. The set design is also really good, which you will hear me say many times throughout the rest of this video. But I feel it took a bit to get going. I wasn't really fully enjoying myself in the first 20 minutes on the plane. It wasn't until I got to the war room where I thought it was really picking up steam, and everything outside of that was just kind of not as good. But I feel the elements in this film that work really, really work, and it's the first film on this list I would genuinely very gladly watch a second time. Maybe another viewing I will appreciate it more, and on another day I might do another Stanley Kubrick ranking video after I've rewatched them all, and maybe I could have a completely different list, but we'll just have to see. 7 out of 10.
Cause you're dreaming with your eyes wide.
Shut! Eyes Wide Shut is an incredibly ambitious, unique film, especially for his final film. Incredibly mysterious. However, I didn't find myself super easy to get into for the first half. There were some great scenes, but I was never fully interested. But the second half of the movie grabbed me and really just kept my attention for the rest of the film. Incredibly fascinating. The last line is so incredible. I feel this is the perfect middle ground for Kubrick's work. It's not quite good enough to reach the standards of some of his best films, but I don't think the flaws are as strong as some of his worst films. It's a great middle ground. Definitely watch this one with the family. 8 out of 10. Despite being a 3-hour-long period piece, Barry Lyndon is truly one of the best paced, best looking, and best performed films I have ever had the pleasure of watching. The mere amount of entertainment that is just found in these 1800 British guys basically arguing about pointless things for 3 hours is mind-boggling, especially for someone like me who would probably hate this kind of film. And this is in one of the best, and I actually wish it could have been higher, but he's just such a good director that he does have that many good movies. It's just picking the best out of an amazing bunch. It's so good, and if you somehow haven't watched this masterpiece yet, I would highly recommend you do so, because it is very, very good, and probably one of the best of these kinds of films. A very high 8 out of 10.
Singing in the rain, just singing in the rain.
A Clockwork Orange is easily the best family movie ever made. It is so much fun to watch with all of the little ones that my little sister actually cried. In all seriousness, this is genuinely one of the most unique and disturbing films I have ever seen in the best way possible. The performances, especially from Malcolm McDowell, are absolutely incredible and one of a kind. The set design, while supposed to be in this slightly futuristic London, but made in the 70s, it's such a weird, almost dreamlike vibe that is just not it's just not like any other movie. The biggest criticism is that the second act kind of gets a bit slow, but then it does not detract from the absolutely amazing quality of the first and third acts and their just incredibleness. Yeah, 9 out of 10.
Give me the bat. Come on. Give me the bat. Give me the bat. Scaredy cat. Yeah.
The Shining is a 1980 ripoff of that one scene from Ready Player One, and it's really one of the best horror movies of all time for a reason. The slow pace excellently builds up the incredible climax, which is as famous as it is for a reason. Jack Nicholson's performance is amazing and doesn't need to be added on. Really, everything about this movie that is great has already been said a million times in the past. There isn't really much I can add. I mean, the direction is incredible. The performances are great, especially from Nicholson and Danny Lloyd, and also Shelley Duvall. It looks amazing, like especially all that stuff in the snow maze near the end. I just want to put this movie on my wall. It's amazing. Easily one of the best 80s horror movies, or even horror movies in general, ever made. An easy 9.5 out of 10.
Sergeant, establish your recon.
You climb obstacles like old people fuck! You know that, Private Kyle?
Full Metal Jacket is one of the most harrowing films I have ever seen, and it's a war movie, which, as we've established earlier in this video, I'm not usually a fan of, but this is a huge exception. This movie, I feel, could be greatly compared to Kill Bill, for me and for me only. See, Kill Bill, as most of you would probably know, is a 2-part action movie. The first part focusing on all the exciting action, the second part focusing on all the dialogue and story elements, with little to no action. Now, Full Metal Jacket is also similar to that in that regard, when the first half is all the exciting stuff, and the second half is the quote-unquote boring stuff. And with Kill Bill, I actually strongly think Volume 1 and Volume 2 are equally perfect, basically, in their own right. If anything, I actually might prefer Volume 2, but that's a story for another day. This movie is so amazing. The first half, with all the boot camp, is iconic, and the dialogue is amazing, which usually isn't something I'd say. It looks amazing, and it's honestly, I feel like I could watch it all day. Especially that bathroom scene is just so incredible and brutal and almost feels realistic. And then we get into the second half with the actual war stuff, and the performances are all great, and it's just like a bunch of guys going around having some fun, and I really like it. The ending is really, really good, and I feel as if Kubrick had never made Eyes Wide Shut, and this ended up being his last movie, this still would have been an incredible final film, just not as greatly final as Eyes Wide Shut. It is an easy 9.5 out of 10, and would definitely be his best if it weren't for one other movie. "2001: A Space Odyssey" is really a movie that has to be seen to be believed. It's essentially a 2.5 visual concept, but in the best way possible. The effects in this movie for 1968 look a million times better than almost every movie that comes out today. Hell, I'd probably even say this might be the best looking film of all time with how good it is and what they were able to achieve at the time. It is a spectacle to be witnessed. Like, every person should see this film at least once in their life. It transcends the meaning of film. It is a artwork. It's literally so amazing. And the fact that it came from the same guy who gave us all these other films like The Shining and Full Metal Jacket, and is so different for them, it's absolutely incredible. It's such a good film, and it's the first 20 minutes of this 2.5 hour movie is just a bunch of monkeys doing things, and it's incredible. Especially the ending is amazing, and the score is iconic as it is for a reason. If you somehow haven't watched this masterpiece yet, and I really hope I have convinced you otherwise, because this film is really amazing. 10 out of 10.